of their phones. It is deliberate. It's nothing accidental. They deliberately want you to have the best experience with their products. Some car manufacturing companies like BMW, Mercedes, they invest. They even recruit artists. They recruit design thinkers to mimic the customer experience, and they address some of the issues you may face before you even tell them, "I'll need this." So when you're driving that car, you're like, "Oh, how did they know we would even need this kind of thing?" It's because they invest in thinking about the design in a way that is biased towards making the user or the customer most comfortable. So I want to move away from there and just go back to the main topic, being business innovation and entrepreneurship. I said it's not a masterclass. I would have deleted the word masterclass because it isn't. What we are doing here, we are giving you tips to guide you, to give you direction so that you can swim into the blue oceans of innovation and become a prosperous entrepreneur as you rise through your career as years go by. And you see, when you say business innovation, there's a lot underneath that statement, because a business is like a corporate organization, an entity where innovation happens. So we're going to see shortly how that works. Then we'll also talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to define entrepreneurship and ask ourselves, what is entrepreneurship? And we're going to address the question, who is an entrepreneur? And ask ourselves, is entrepreneurship the same as registering a business? Or which one, ranks top in terms of the concept of value creation? So to get us moving, and again, usually I don't normally cover many slides. Tonight's session, we only have 3 main slides. And then the 4th slide is a closing slide where we are telling you the session has ended. And, if you have a question or a comment, you can share. I just have some questions over there. You don't have to answer any right now, but I might request that you try and answer at some point. That is to the left top corner. I'm asking you, what is discipline? I've deliberately put the word discipline there, or rather asked you a question about discipline, because modern thinking requires that you be disciplined if you're going to be successful as a leader, as a manager, as an entrepreneur, as anything you want to become in life. Discipline comes first. You have to be a disciplined person, you have to be a disciplined thinker, and you have got to be a disciplined actor. And the question is, so what is discipline? We need to define that. Anyone who will dare want to help us define discipline, you're most welcome. Because entrepreneurs also should have guts to take on challenges like the one I'm posing to you by asking these questions. You need to have the courage to participate in this session, because our aim here is not just to talk. Our aim here is to model you, is to forge into your psyche the idea of entrepreneurship in a way that will enable you to become a successful value creator, wherever you are. Then we'll be asking you why thinking is important. I think a lot of people take thinking for granted. They assume God created you, so you're thinking, you wake up, you're already thinking. No, it is something you must determine and even set time aside to just think. And sometimes thinking happens in the subconscious, but you need to block time, half an hour on particular days to just think, ask questions, and reflect on the issues that you have been trying to address. Some people try to think in the middle of the night when everyone is asleep, because at that time the mind can now wander the entire globe trying to find answers to the questions they have been trying to address. And once you experience that moment of insight, you take your pen and write down your thoughts, which will drive how you conceptualize your idea in the morning. And then, of course, I said we'll define entrepreneurship, and then we'll talk about that last bullet, which is basically what is listed here indirectly. But what the last bullet is talking about is the different types of innovation. So if we are saying today we are discussing business innovation, we need to ask ourselves, within our business, there are processes that need to be innovated. There are products or services that we need to innovate. And that's different from process innovation. Then we have management innovation. Management innovation is all about how you manage your team. Especially now we have a group called Generation Z. We have Generation, I think, Y. I think the people attending here are Generation Z. I don't know whether you're Generation Y. It's a completely different package, you know, trying to manage this latest generation of youth because they have a different perspective to how they should be managed and treated. And there are some organizations that are lagging behind. They're using 1970 tactics to manage 21st century youth. Or you know, because remember, Africa has the largest composition in its population as youth. And if that's the case, then actually the organizations that must embrace management innovation with more seriousness should be organizations that operate from Africa than anywhere else in the world. Then we'll talk about strategic innovation. How do you innovate at the strategic level? All of this brings you know, to bear the impact of innovation on the business. And that's why our topic today, business innovation. The problem with innovation is that when you go for cocktail dinners and everywhere, the leaders of companies just mention innovation as, you know, a soundbite in their speeches, but they have no way of explaining to you, for instance, how they map and support innovation, how they measure how innovative the organization is, what are the areas where the innovations of the organization are concentrated the most? Is it in process, product management, or strategic innovation? I think the area where we have the least innovation is management innovation, because a lot of organizations believe that, you know, you have to supervise people and run the organization like the military, which actually ends up demotivating some of your best people, and they may end up leaving and going to join your competitors. So I'll come back on the left shortly. For now, I want us to go on the right, the text in blue. So if you're going to come up with innovations, remember, innovation is a product of a process. So innovation is right here. We have bullet number 1, bullet 2, bullet 3, bullet 4, then bullet number 5 is innovation. The journey starts right here with thinking. You have to be a thinker. Some people have relegated thinking to others. They never think. I don't know the last time you blocked time to just think. And the people who don't think normally, their work is shallow. If they write you a concept note, it's very shallow. You will be very disgusted. So I'm telling you that thinking is serious business. That's all I'm saying. And it takes thinking for you to realize that actually you need to be a disciplined person. And the discipline has actually 3 components. The disciplined person, this disciplined person is the one who pursues excellence, is the one who pursues you know, the objective of discipline. So I'll define discipline so that we understand what I'm talking about. I don't know if anyone wants to try, because I don't want to be accused of not giving you guys a chance to speak in this training. So Wabinya, if anyone wants to define for us discipline, I'm giving like 10 seconds to see the hand raised. If no one raises their hand, let me...
Rahab's hand is up.
Thank you. Rahab, can you define for us discipline, please?
Discipline is the act of obeying rules or following a certain code of behavior. And an example that I know a lot kids like to use in the kids money program, precisely Sunny, when your mother leaves you with the kid and you're able to watch the kid in a good way, that is you being disciplined.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you see what Rahab is telling us, she has used obedience, obedience as one of the characteristics that are used to define discipline, which is, thank you very much, Rehab, for that. So I'll just go back to the basic principles of discipline, and I want you to remember this, and I'll use Rehab's example to expound what I'm saying. Discipline is the ability to know your responsibilities. So the first part of discipline is knowing your responsibilities. I don't know how many of you here are aware of your responsibilities, or you have none. And if you have none, there's a problem there, because you can't wait for people to come and define for you responsibilities. You've got to create your own list of responsibilities that you must act on. You must act on. So the first thing about discipline is the ability to be aware. You need to be aware of your responsibilities. That's number one. Then discipline means if you're aware of your responsibilities, then you follow through and take action on your responsibilities. So let's take an example of you guys here. I don't know, some of you are in 4th year, some of you have just graduated, some of you are even working. And you have a responsibility, I'll use this as an example, you have a responsibility to be curious. So especially the guys who are still in school or those who are working, curiosity means that you need to be able, when people give you instructions to do something, you need to be able to ask them questions about the work they're giving you. It is your responsibility to ask those questions, because we are living in a knowledge world. And if you're going to be the person who doesn't ask questions, then you're going to land in a lot of trouble. In fact, people who ask more questions, those who are curious, and who ask questions not to embarrass the person they are engaging with, but they ask questions because they want to gain understanding before they act on the things that they are acting on. So one of your responsibilities is to be to develop a curious mind. It's your responsibility to be curious. And you are maybe wondering, why should I be curious? It's perhaps one of the most important things. Otherwise, if you're not curious, you might as well find a brain surgeon saying that maybe your brain is dead, because you're supposed to be curious on every single activity that you're undertaking. So in defining discipline as knowing your responsibilities and acting on them, one of the other responsibilities you have is to be diligent in everything that you do. Diligence is another word for working hard. And working hard goes hand in hand in working smart. Working smart means spending time on the most important things. Okay? And spending time on most important things means that you are aware of those things and they form a sub-list of your responsibilities. You have a responsibility to know what are the important things to your career, what are the important things in your life, so that you don't land in the trouble that they have come to refer to as the middle class crisis, where we have people who go and take bank loans so they can look great, and then in a few years, they are living miserably. So it's your responsibility to do that. Another example of one of your responsibilities is that you have the responsibility as a young person to build your career. Building your career is your responsibility. You can't say that it's my employer who will build my career for me, or my spouse, or wherever, or my mother or dad. It is you, the person I'm speaking to tonight, who has the responsibility to build your career. I don't know what the line of career you're going to pursue. But remember, if you understand strategy, you know that in building your career, you need to leave room for new opportunities. You need to leave room for changing circumstances in the business environment. You might find that you end up doing things that you never studied at campus. Okay? In building your career, you must always give room for experiments and innovation, right? And you know, in doing what? In building your career, you need to leave room and be aware that your individual initiative is what is going to help you become successful. So you have a responsibility to build your career. That's an example, actually one of the most important examples of your responsibilities. And If you're aware of your responsibility to build your career and you're doing nothing about it, then you are indisciplined. You're not disciplined. So I could talk about discipline for the whole day. So we need to be disciplined in school, at work, in our social relationships, have respect for the people around you. You have the responsibility to act with integrity. You have the responsibility to respect those you are working with, okay? You don't have to be their friends, but you need to be friendly. There's a difference between friendliness and being friends. So let me pause there because I want to come here to this number 2 here, discipline. You need to be a disciplined person. I've defined discipline. And those who are indisciplined always land in trouble. Normally, there's a curve I normally draw on the Cartesian graph, where you have the x-axis on the horizontal and y-axis vertical. And time starts at 0.0. And time is on the x-axis. So if you're counting in 20 years, 20, 40, 50, or rather 20, 40, 60, 80 years, you'll find that after 20 years, the guys you graduated with in campus, some may fall into dangerous situations, like some could become criminals. They are stealing from people on M-Pesa. Some could just be miserable somewhere, maybe burning charcoal in the village. And then there'll be some who have got, careers that are just, like doing so well. Some of you, in just 15 years, you'll be, in senior C-suite management in a very successful organization. And when you meet with your colleagues you are with in campus, even you are wondering what happened to my friend. But it's just because between you and your friend, one of you understood the importance of discipline. And the discipline goes for you young people as it goes for every entrepreneur. There's no entrepreneur who succeeded without being disciplined. You need to read stories about Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and the likes. These are very disciplined people. So there are other concepts about discipline, which I'll not discuss tonight because we'll have an opportunity in future to talk about this. Concepts such as being able to embrace the genius of the ant. I was discussing this with Brandon the other day. Being able to face brutal facts. We have got what we call data science and data analytics. You need to use the insights from data. That's also discipline. The ability to pursue your life using the 20-mile march, a concept that was coined by Jim Collins to help businesses become successful or entrepreneur people to succeed in their endeavors. It is a concept of discipline. So I want to just shift to decision making and say that when you're disciplined, also that discipline comes through in decision making. You need to make choices that will add value to your life. You need to understand the 20-80 rule as an entrepreneur. What are the 20% things that you should be doing that will deliver 80% of the results? Who are the 20% of the people you should be spending time with who are going to help you deliver 80% of the results? Okay, the 20-80 rule. What are the major things you need to be focusing on in your life so that you don't become the victim of the person who was described as being very experienced in measuring in the minors? Because when you measure in the minors, you will not make a lot of mileage in your career. And decision making is really critical because it's a product of thinking. In fact, for your information, this first bullet, thinking, cuts through all of the concepts I've put here in the bullets that entrepreneurs must focus on. If you want to be disciplined, it's a product of thought. If you are making decisions to undertake a project, to start a business or to come up with an innovation, that is a process of thought. When you come up with a creative idea, of course, you come up with various creative ideas and you select the best, you test it. Testing means you might speak to potential customers for feedback. You could actually do an experiment yourself to see whether it delivers the results you are looking for. And once you validate that actually this thing is working, then you can go and pilot it as a solution. That's when it becomes an innovation. And all of these processes are a product of thinking. And there's one concept about innovation. When you innovate, you need to determine whether you need to protect your idea. There are some ideas you must protect them, because if you don't protect them by registering them with the relevant institution, being the Kenya Intellectual Property Institute, then there are people out here who are waiting for you to create ideas for them to steal. So you need to be prepared to be a person who can think about protection. Give me a second. Let me just, Mheshimiwa, can I call you please shortly? Yeah. Right. Thanks. Yeah. Sorry for that. That's my friend. He just got elected. He's a member of parliament. It's very good for somebody to become an MP and still call you. Yeah. Usually it's very hard for people when they go into those offices to call their friends. But I feel very privileged. He has called me after winning the parliamentary seat. So idea protection, this is a concept I think we might have to cover it in a subsequent session, because, it is very bad for you to burn midnight oil testing ideas and you find the one that actually works. And I think I need to also give you the distinction between creativity and innovation. Creativity is the coming up with the ideas. Once you test and you see it's working, and you start applying it at your place of work to improve your processes, to make your product the best in the market, like the iPhone, to make your management approaches the best. Once you start using, it becomes an innovation because it's a solution, or even for the purposes of improving your strategy. Then thinking still cuts through value creation, because for you to arrive at the point where you say you want to help society, you want to help your school, your university, you want to help your employer. Value creation is just being helpful, being resourceful. And it is a process of thought. You can't just, walk into the process of creating value if you are not a good thinker, if you're not a quality thinker. So entrepreneurs have got to be quality thinkers. And then there's the whole thing around price. Sometimes not everything you create you need to sell, but whenever you want to charge, because if people are finding it valuable and you need to actually charge for it, then you need also to determine what is the process of determining how much I should charge. How much profit do I want to make in selling this service? Again, we cannot cover this during this session because this session does not afford us sufficient time to talk about these concepts in detail. And then when you do all these things, which are supported by the thought process, then you achieve your purpose. I think you need to define your purpose. Why are you here on earth? I want each one of you to just take the next 15 seconds. I'll pause to allow you to think and ask yourself, what is your purpose on God's planet? What is your struggle on earth all about? What purpose do you want to achieve? So I'll pause for 15 seconds so you can think about it. All right. I think maybe you have the answer. I want you to think about that answer tonight and always, and ask yourself, why do you exist? Because you see a lot of people grow old and they look back and they regret. They are not able to even measure their life. How will you measure your life? Yeah. And you see this guy called Jeff Bezos, he has a concept known as the regret minimization framework, where he says that right now you are young, you just left campus, maybe you are 21. Imagine you have just turned 90 years old. You are very lucky you are 90, but you are so scared to try anything in life. But you ask yourself, when I was 25, there are things I could have done, but I never did them. I've squandered the last 65 years. Why did I do that to myself? And you realize it's too late, my friend. Remember, people normally say that time is going. Time is not going anywhere. We are the ones who are going, we the people. The idea that all of you, maybe you have relatives who've just had newborns and all that. The idea of those newborn babies is to replace us. The idea of the new replacing the old is a beautiful idea, because that's how the process of renewal happens. And the renewal is a very important concept. It is what even drives entrepreneurship. The idea of entrepreneurship is to disrupt and eliminate the things that are old and that are no longer working, and come in with the new ideas that will make the world a better place. So I want you to think about your purpose, because that might help you to think differently about how you spend your time. Because your time will come, the Bible apparently says your time on earth could be around 70 to 80 years. I don't know if that's true. I was just saying that somewhere on social media. So in those 8 years, what do you want to achieve? Because you will have to give way once that time passes. So I want to get away from the blue text and come back to the left and just ask you, so what is value creation? Can you define for me what is value creation? I think I already defined this as being resourceful and helpful to your employer. And how do you become resourceful and helpful? By taking action on the responsibilities that you have been assigned at work. There's a connection between discipline and value creation. When you take action on your responsibilities, you create value. When you take action on the responsibilities of building your career, you create value. Because when you build your career, there are a lot of people who come to depend on you, your family, your organization, your friends, society at large. You're creating value by being that better version of yourself. So that's value creation. We've talked about thinking, and I'll not talk about bullet number 3, because thinking is our primary business as human beings. If you can't think, then there's a problem. There's a problem when you are not able to spend a lot of time thinking, and you'll always know when somebody thinks a lot or not. So what is entrepreneurship? Is there anyone who is willing to define for us entrepreneurship? Because after we define entrepreneurship, I want to just go back to discussion of innovation as a product of entrepreneurship. And then we'll move towards the end of today's session. Anyone who wants to define entrepreneurship? All right. So I'll define for you in brief. I have a slide here.
Stacy has raised their hand.
Raise their hand.
Stacy would like to share. Stacy would like to share.
Yes, please go for it, Stacy.
Hi.
Hi.
First, I'd like to thank Rahab for inviting me. It's a really great session.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I'd define entrepreneurship as the activity of setting up a business and taking in all the risks in hope of gaining some profit.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. So that's the version normally they teach at the university. And that's very good. By the way, if you made that definition in the exam, by the way, Stacy, you will earn a lot of marks. And Stacy, thank you for coming for the session. So I hope you keep coming, all right? Okay. All right, that's awesome. So Stacy, thank you for the answer. And I want to just expand your definition. And so we have our definition here at Capable or at iChanuka. And our definition is a product of observing what happens in the business world and what entrepreneurs really do. So when I started, I tried to talk about entrepreneurship, but now I'll just define by saying that entrepreneurship is a system of thinking. Remember, I don't know how many times I've mentioned the word thinking in today's class. I've laid so much emphasis on thinking. I don't know if you have noticed by now, this is the word I have repeated so many times. And entrepreneurship, please listen, it is a system of thinking. Entrepreneurs have a system of thinking that is different. The thinking is the type that makes them become serial innovators. Serial innovators are the guys who are obsessed with creating solutions. If you can see my cursor, they don't wait for things to be broken. They are crazy about making things better, even when things are not broken. And that's why there's a race. For instance, in the motor industry, you see BMW have just released their their i7 series of the car. It's the latest BMW that is actually, it's not hybrid, it's actually electric. It's electric. And when they listed the cars that can compete with it, they included Tesla. Remember Tesla, they are the leaders in electric cars. But now the Germans, Germans are some of the best, engineers. So even Mercedes already has an electric car. I'm just using this. And these are solutions. Remember, the world is trying to push for elimination of too much pollution. And that pollution in the form of carbon emissions is actually depleting the ozone layer. And as a consequence of depleting the ozone layer, we are seeing what we call climate change. Climate change in the form of global warming. And the more these innovations lead us to relying less to fossil fuels that pollute, the better we will make the planet a safer place to live. So we need to take good care of the planet so that the planet can also take good care of us. So when I say it's a system of thinking, when you go to Germany in the plant where BMW builds their cars, there are teams of thinkers. It's a system of thinking. That's why these guys come up with crazy technology with every edition of their new car, because they have hired top thinkers. And that's why I'm saying entrepreneurship is a system of thinking to create solutions or innovations that create value for people in society. And when this value is created, you can charge a price or a fee and make a profit so that you can invest that profit back into the process of that system of thinking known as entrepreneurship. I hope we are together, because this is something that I think maybe we need to look at again at a future class. I'm not sure if we are together. Stacy, are we together?
Yes, we are together.
Is this making sense?
Yes, it is making a lot of sense.
Entrepreneurs think differently. They have the courage to risk. They have the courage to experiment, right? That's why all of us here don't start businesses, because you see, the example that Stacy gave us is just an example of entrepreneurship. When somebody starts a business, it's because they want to solve a problem. So that's like an innovation. So they set up that business because for them, that's a creative idea that they want to see in action. Innovation are actually creative ideas in action. If you want to define innovation, innovation refers to creative ideas in use or in action. And the example Stacy gave us of the person who sets up a business, all because they want to create value for the people they are targeting as their customers. And when we will have an in-person session in future, I think we will be able to illustrate how entrepreneurship works in the real world, so that you can see from a very practical sense how this could impact. And I wanted you to know that entrepreneurs are not just people who own or register businesses. We even have entrepreneurs within the place of work. So if you work maybe for Safaricom, maybe you work for the government of Kenya, you'll find that within the teams working in those organizations, there are entrepreneurs. There are people in there who are the top problem solvers, because even their colleagues recognize them as the best innovators, because they're able to confront most of the problems the organization is facing and resolve them. And when they resolve those problems by providing solutions, they actually create value for those organizations. So the business of entrepreneurs is to develop a system of thinking so that they can innovate or create solutions that create value for society. So when we say the system of thinking generates innovations, what do we mean? So we have process innovation. Can anyone give me an example of process innovation? If you told me where you work, maybe I could give you an example on your behalf. Let's talk about your university. There are some guys here, you are in campus, University of Nairobi, Daystar University, name it. So in your university, when the semester begins, there's a place where you go to register yourself for the semester. And you key in your name, I don't know, you fill a form, name it, maybe you go online, you can go and study that process of registering students in the university. And, advise the university that, number one, I think this process, we can make it paperless, number one. Secondly, we can actually integrate the payment of fees and the registration process to reduce the time of registering a student from 3 hours to just 20 minutes. Yeah, that is possible. That sounds really crazy. There's this weird guy called Elon Musk. When they were building their rockets to send satellites into space at SpaceX, what he did is that they needed some parts, and he told one of the engineers that there was a part that actually usually it costs around $60,000 US. $60,000 US is roughly just around 7 million Kenya shillings. And they told that person, I want you to build a part that will cost us only $5,000 US, down from 60,000. That sounds ridiculous, right? A part that costs 60,000 USD, you want me to build one that costs only 5,000 USD? And he did it. He built a part that costs only 3,600 USD. He was able to achieve it by changing the process and also the inputs that were necessary to build that part. How he did it, I don't know. But they say that, the beauty with technology, especially computing technology, is that according to Moore's law says that the power of computers is going to double every 2 years. And the process of doubling that power of computers or computing power, the result usually is that as it doubles, the cost of the innovations or the technology we are using tends to drop, and more people have access to the technology at a cheaper price. And maybe that could be a function of how he was able to build that part more cheaply than anyone had expected. So you can change processes. I've given you an example of your university registration process. Please think about it. Today we are thinking. Think about another way how you can actually innovate process. Then you can have product innovation. Product innovation is the example I gave you where, these guys at iPhone, they produce slick phones. Yeah, I'm using iPhone because, even here in Nairobi, the guys who want to show that they have arrived, you know what I mean? Normally they come and place their iPhone on the table. Yeah, but majority of people in Nairobi have realized that the function of a phone is to call and process your M-Pesa. So they decided to save some money. But in terms of innovation, there's a lot of innovation happening. And I think some of that product innovation in the space of technology is benefiting from the Moore's law that I've just defined. I don't know if anyone has got an example for product innovation. Product are the things a company sells. So a company can even withdraw some products and replace them with better ones after going through the process of considering new ideas for improving those products. So let's carry on. Management innovation. So you can innovate how you manage. For example, you see, the guys who belong to the old school, before COVID, they believed that people have got to be seen at the place of work for you to know that they are working, which for me really was ridiculous, right? And I really thank God that this lesson has been passed on the hard way, because now these employees had to be at home. And in short, people were baptized with fire. Some HR people who were resisting the idea of managing their staff remotely. And we used to think that even these traffic jams, you can have staff arriving at work in shifts, so that instead of everybody rushing to be at work by 8 a.m., you can stagger and say that some people can arrive at 10, others can arrive at midday. So from morning to 11, work from home, then start coming to work from 11, so you arrive by 12. By that time, there's no traffic, so you save on time on transit to work. So management innovation is all about how you motivate your teams, and it's even getting trickier. The way I said earlier on at the introduction, when I talked about the Generation Z, the younger and younger guys here who are now, concluding their studies at university, and even the Generation Y. I don't remember the, years of birth for these groups, but I think they represent the youngest generation of people we have to deal with at the place of work at the moment. And how you deal with them is different from how you dealt with, say, Generation X, the older people, as well as the other earlier generation that we were being referred to as the baby boomers. So think about management innovation and set targets, whether your organization is engaging in any of these innovations, process, product, or management. Then we have strategic innovation, which is you need to rethink how you drive your strategy as an organization. Do you want to continue setting strategy by defining your mission as being, being inspired by your common enemy? You see, your fiercest competitor is your common enemy. So you set a strategy that aims to finish that common enemy. Is that a good strategy? Yes, maybe. But then when you are done finishing your common enemy, so what happens? You go to sleep so that you are also finished. So strategic innovation is about deciding how you want to set your strategy. You may say that, okay, our strategy will focus on internal transformation so that we become a great company because our processes are weak, customers are complaining, so we need to improve the business and how it delivers. You can have a strategy that is focused on a role model. Say that we really like how Safaricom operates. What can we learn from them so that we can be like them or better? You can have a strategy that is innovated around a target to say that, like, in 3 years, we need to have delivered 30% of the market share of Kenya in the space where we are operating. We must get 30% of the market. That's a target type of strategy. And remember, by definition, don't overcomplicate strategy, because before you innovate strategy, you must understand the meaning of strategy. Strategy is simply a roadmap, an action plan that helps you to achieve your vision and your mission. And the vision is a dream, the ultimate destination you want your organization or business to be. And the mission are the things you'll be doing for you to get there. And the mission can be developed along those 4 things I talked about: common enemy, role model, internal transformation, and by targets. And then you say, all right, here are some of the strategic objectives we want to achieve. These are the tactics or activities we'll undertake to achieve the objective. These are the resources we need. These are the people who are responsible for delivering. This is how we report. This is our SWOT analysis, our strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. And this is how we want to seize the opportunities in the market and respond to the threats. And this is how we want to strengthen our weaknesses so that we become a better organization. So all I'm saying here is that you need to sit back and ask your team, do you have any ideas on how we can make our strategy better? How do we innovate? How we make our strategy so that we can become the best organization? So I leave it at that so that you can ponder what I've talked about. And on this slide, we've defined what entrepreneurship is. And so I don't want to repeat this because, it will not sound good for me to go through what I've already talked about. And we come to the question and answer session. So I'd like to invite any comments and questions from you before we call it a day. Over to you, my friend Nelly and Brandon.
Thank you, Evans, for that insightful conversation on innovation. Maybe we can hear from each and every attendee, maybe their take home, and maybe in case they have any questions. Maybe we can start from Rahab. Rahab, if you can hear me, you can unmute and maybe share your take home or a question.
Or whoever is available can go ahead. Rogers, if you're ready, you can give us your comment. Or Sophia. Whoever unmutes first can speak. Stacy.
Hello.
Yes, Sophia.
It was really a good session today, knowing more about discipline and whatever has been taught today. It is a good thing, and I'm really thankful for it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening.
Thank you, Sophia.
Yes, Rogers. We could hardly hear Rogers, yeah, but it appears he's speaking.
Yeah. So I appreciate for the learning. I've learned a lot from this session, especially about responsibility and the impact of as in how you can improve your discipline by having a list of responsibility. And my take home is depending on the personal goals that I have, I will have a priority list and work on being disciplined, disciplining my way into achieving them. Yeah, that's my take home.
Wonderful.
Good evening. Thank you for this session. And my take home is mainly what you've talked about, the regret minimization. I think the question, it has made me think about my purpose more. And yeah, that's mainly, and to be disciplined more. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Stacy, and everyone else, Sophia, Rogers. Rehab. All right. I think back to you, Nelly. I think Rehab may be having technical challenges.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your take home. I think also I share. I would also like to share my take home was on the different aspects, even
Nelly, your internet. Nelly, we can hardly hear you. Hi, Nelly. Hi, Nelly. Hi, Nelly.
I don't see it in that perspective. So,
hi, Nelly. We've had like less than 20% of what you said.
Hello. Hi.
Saying, yeah, we had less than 20% of what you said. Which network are you using?
I'm using Safari.
Yeah, it's completely, should I say, blacked out?
Okay.
Can Brandon help us with winding up instead?
Yeah, it's okay. Really sorry about that experience from that, and maybe next time you can look for a better network or be in a better place. Thank you so much, Evans, for the presentation. To the attendees, I can assure you that what you have taken in today is just the beginning of what to expect in iChanuka, especially the leadership and entrepreneurship sessions. And I know Evans normally does not mention these case studies and individuals for no reason. For those who attended the last session that we had with him, he mentioned about Jeff Bezos. Sometime you can just go and check the profile of these kind of people. They are proven to be leaders, and not just leaders. They have led in the areas that they try to provide value in. And also, I know Evans has also told you about thinking. He normally tells me that to be able to think like a leader and like an entrepreneur, you also have to be a reader. You have to read a lot. Yeah, you have to read a lot. So from my take home is that entrepreneurship is not enough. Having an idea how to start a business is not enough. It requires leadership. It requires you to chart a way and also lead your team. And so thank you so much, Evans. And I believe those who have been here with us today, we will continue being with you and make it a life priority to be in the iChanuka program. I know you are reaping a lot of benefits, and we hope we shall continue providing value to you as we move forward. So thank you for attending our session, and the recording will be shared to you on your emails. Nelly will do so, and you will be guided on how to move forward and also even how to receive your certificates. I don't know if we still have something from Evans.
I just want to thank the participants and say that let's commit. You can make iChanuka as one of your responsibilities to support your career growth and be turning up without fail. I want to laud Rahab. Rahab is always a very consistent participant. And I think who else here is consistent? Is it Rogers? And I'm sure Stacy will follow suit. I don't know, Sophia, if you have been coming, you should be able to do so. Thank you so much and have a good night. Back to you, Brendan.
Good night to Evans. See you around. And bye, everyone.